Hi there, I'm Michael Robinson, and welcome. The new year has begun. Many of you have made resolutions, hoping to reach goals and targets for your life by trying to avoid mistakes that some might have made during the past year. Let's face it, our ultimate goal is to be happy. But happiness can be elusive, right? It can be here for a minute and gone the next. What happened? Well, how can we hold on to that happiness and find joy in living a fulfilled life? Is there a secret to finding happiness more consistently? Well, we're going to talk about that today with our guest. He is the author of the newly released book entitled Get to Be Happy: Stories and Secrets to Loving the Shit Out of Life. And we're going to get to the bottom of this, no pun intended. His name is Ted Larkins, and accomplished business executive and entrepreneur with a focus on international companies, representing major movie studios that included Paramount Pictures, everybody's heard of that, Sony Pictures, 20th Century Fox. He is a former senior VP of one of the world's leading entertainment, sport, and brand licensing agencies, and a guest lecturer for the UCLAX Entertainment Studios and Performing Arts Program. Welcome to the show, Ted.
Hi, Michael. So great to be here with you.
Lovely seeing you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Tell us about why you wrote this book.
You know, I was, through my life, I've had a lot of, like everybody, I've had challenges, I've had incredible times. And at some point, I realized that when I say I have to, I feel like a victim to life. But when I say I get to, I open up and I feel compassion. I feel appreciation for my life. And when I had that like epiphany about 2 years ago, I was taking the train, a 2-hour one-way commute up to Hollywood. And I said, I'm going to write a book about this. And there you go. I called it Get to Be Happy. And it's the Get to principle, which is what it's based upon. And it's really an effective way to, find happiness, or even in challenging times, at least find ease and peace.
Mm-hmm. So let's play the devil's advocate. I'm somebody listening to the show and I'm thinking, well, I'm miserable. How do you begin teaching someone to be happy? Where would you begin?
Well, look, it's not always easy. And I'm actually up here. I'm in Santa Barbara right now, is doing some work with up in the Santa Barbara area. And the people here have had some really challenging times with the fires and the mudslides. And I was able to speak to the fact that, after some amount of grieving or tough times, if you could just say, wow, I get to experience that and feel the compassion and the gratitude that comes from just saying those words, it can really shift your life. Maybe not a lot. I'm not talking about Pollyanna and be happy about everything. I'm just saying, for example, you're doing the dishes and you say, oh, I got to do the dishes. I'm not saying you don't have to. If you don't do them, they'll pile up and stink. But if you just say, I get to, your mind subconsciously knows that 20,000 people are going to starve to death on the planet today. We can't even grasp that. So if we say I get to, you have compassion for that and appreciation for what you do have in life. And it's just a subtle shift that you can start feeling better no matter what situation you're in.
So do you think that we're living in a world where people are not feeling gratitude or not appreciative of what they have? That's what's causing us to be unhappy people?
Yeah, I think that in our culture, in most cultures, look, as human beings, there are tough times, and look, I lost my child at birth, and it was a very challenging time, and the grief. Yeah, thank you, but the grieving that went with it. But at some point, I decided, wait a second, instead of I have to experience that, I got to experience that. I got to experience the 9 months with her. Mm-hmm. Even Dr. Seuss says, don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. And so what I did in that situation with my wife is we said, wait a second, we got to experience that 9 months and the love that came with it, and we looked for the good in it. It's not always easy. And when people are grieving and having challenging times, I never say, oh, get over it. That's not the point at all. Right. The point is to have compassion for yourself. And when you're able to say, okay, I get to experience this, now what? what can I do from there? And it's a quiet space
Mm-hmm.
of stepping forward. And I think Michael, what the one of the things is in our culture, in most cultures, most languages, we say, oh, I have to,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta. And that's a feeling, it's like a victim feeling to life, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to saying, I get to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think that there's a certain amount of entitlement that comes around with having so much in our lives, right? You know, you go to other countries and there's a sort of a void of resources, a void of many things. But in our country, we have access to a lot of resources and maybe we don't appreciate it enough.
Yes, that's to say the least. I spent some time in India, and I met Mother Teresa. I went over and worked in her orphanages and in the home for the dying, and I just learned so much. And I worked in the slums, and I was with some people with literally nothing, people that are dying, and there was some great appreciation for life. And then you come over here and you think, oh my God, we have so much. Now that doesn't take away the suffering again that even I go through financially or challenges. And I'm not saying ignore that, but I think we can move internally over to, wait a second, let's just have some more appreciation for what I have. When I'm doing the dishes, I've got running water. That's a miracle. It's not always easy when we're stuck, when we have hard times at the office or with our in our relationships. It's not easy. But if you just say, wow, I get to,
Mm-hmm.
I promise it can start shifting that over for you.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into the weeds a bit and talk about the specifics of what a person can do to get to that awareness, right? Of feeling I get to. Give us 3 or 4 things that we can do consistently to bring us into that place of awareness. Because it is an awareness, right? We're not
Yes.
born naturally feeling like we're grateful. We always feel that we're
Right.
entitled to something, or something is
Hmm.
missing, or something is lacking, or we want more of something. What can we do on a consistent basis that brings us into this place of awareness?
So I've created something that I call the get to principle, and it's called the get to mantra. As simple as this sounds, and it is simple, it can have a life changing effect for people. And here how it is. No matter what thought you have, or no matter what action you're about to do, you say to yourself, I get to. And in that moment, you automatically, subconsciously, you feel compassion for others that don't have what you have. And at the same time, you feel appreciation for what you have. And there's a difference though. It's not feeling sorry for those people that don't have, or boastful for what I have. It's just a quiet space of compassion and appreciation. So that's the first step. You just say, I get to. You're cleaning the cat box and you're all mad. You say, wait a second, I get to do this. And in that moment, you have this peace of quiet compassion and appreciation. The next step is that you smile, deliberately smile. Because when you smile deliberately, endorphins are released in your brain, into your body, and you feel joy. It's a physiological thing that happens. You don't wait for something to make you smile, you deliberately smile.
Right.
Even Mother Teresa says, peace begins with a smile. And the point is that you deliberately do it. Then, in that space, so you said, I get to, you smile, you feel that little bit of joy, and then you continue to do what you're going to do, or the thought you have. And in that moment, you're no longer a victim to life. You step into a power position, into a stance of, wow, I get to do this in life. And it's that simple thing, that simple mantra: get to, smile, do it. And if you do that enough times during the day, it changes how you view life. It changes what happens in your life. And I've had many people have read the book and have come and said, oh my God, I use that every day now. And it has changed how I view the world.
Well, old habits are hard to break. You know, we're sort of like creature of habits.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
how do we break out of that mindset and begin living in this world of self-awareness? What do we need to do to get to this place?
Well, I think that reading books. There's a lot of books out there about finding awareness. I think maybe having a meditation practice where you sit quietly and allow your thoughts to just kind of fade away. There's all kinds of techniques out there. I know for myself, what I do is I use the get to mantra. I just say it. I don't say, here's the key. I don't say I have to or I gotta with anything anymore. And when I catch myself the other day, for example, my wife said, "Oh, Ted, the kids." I was doing some work on my computer. I said, "Oh, yeah, I forgot. I gotta get the kids." And as I walked out and grabbed the keys, I said, and I said, I gotta get them. I said, "Oh, wait, I don't gotta. I get to."
Hmm.
And as I sat in the car, I smiled because I know there's a lot of families that aren't going to get their kids
Right.
today for whatever reason. And I had this appreciation. And then by the time, and I smiled, and by the time I drove and I got the kids, they got in the car, Daddy, and I said, "Hey guys," and they felt this appreciation that I have. So I know you're asking for other tools, maybe, or other ways, Michael, but mine is simply just
Right.
say I get to.
In other
Don't
words,
say I have to.
you are rewiring the way you think. You're rewiring your brain and how you perceive the world around you, and it's really part of the whole process of bringing you into this space of "I get to" and realizing
That's exactly it.
that affirmation. It's an affirmation, right?
It is an affirmation,
The
exactly.
the affirmation itself triggers something and brings you back to this place of gratitude and appreciation and open the doors to happiness.
Yes.
You've
Yeah.
met some very famous people: Bon Jovi, Celine Dion, like you said,
Yeah.
Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
What is the common thread that makes them successful or happy or makes them who they are as an individual or as
Yeah.
individuals?
Yeah. Well, you know what I learned, and I've met a number of famous people, if you will, and what I've learned is that at first, in my experience, they're pretty standoffish, and there's a bit of a wall up between them. And when I met John, I was like, "Guy, he's kind of a jerk," and I'm like, "Really, John?" But what I realized then later, we met again. And then by this time we had done a little bit more business, and he opened up, and we went to dinner, and I tell you, he's just the nicest guy in the world. And Celine Dion, the same thing. Jack Nicklaus, the most famous, best golfer in the world. And I had the same experience. And what I realized is that just like me, they're just like all of us. They're just trying to be happy. They're just trying to figure this thing called life and do it the best they can. And so I learned from that they're just regular people working hard, doing what they can in life. And where each individual success comes from, I really don't have an answer for that, except they're trying hard and they're trying to be the best they can be in life.
Right, right. So 2018 is a year where a lot of people have made resolutions for making better choices, maybe having a better quality year than last year. What
Yeah.
can you say to people who are looking at what they need to do, where they need to get to, uh, and how to put all of that into perspective without losing hope?
Yeah, I would say to everybody, to anybody, and I say this to my kids, just first of all, I think it's important to know that for me anyway, that the human experience is about being happy. In fact, the Dalai Lama, he was in a conversation with the Archbishop Desmond Tutu in their book, The Book of Joy, and he states that after much consideration, I believe that the purpose of human life is to find happiness.
Hmm.
And I just thought that was beautiful. And the reason I think so is that I don't think that people really believe or think it's that it's okay to be happy. And my what I'm learning is it is not only okay, it's what the world needs.
Hmm.
And if you start with that belief, wait a second, it's not only okay to be happy, it's what the world needs. With that, then you take the next step with, okay, what do I need to do? And that might be, using the get to principle. That's mine, or going out or listening to different books and talking to different people and surround yourself with happiness. Michael, I was on Saturday, I went to something called the WPPA, the Western Positive Psychology Association. Positive psychology.
I like
These are
that.
people that are studying positiveness and happiness. It's not about being a monk or these self-help, any of this self-help stuff. It's out there, and it was very powerful.
Hmm.
And I think that once people realize, even if you're having some challenging times right now, if you can just say, wait a second, maybe I'll make my path or my purpose in life to be happy. What would that look like? And I have a feeling people would say, hey, it's possible. and then you would start finding ways to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. In order to be teachers, we have to be students as well, right? How did
Yes.
your journey begin to this place of awareness?
You know, I had several. Honestly, I was watching the television show Kung Fu back in the 1970s, and it's about a wandering monk named Caine. And I don't know why I like the show so much, but anyway, he's in a box in the middle of the desert for something he was supposedly did and didn't do. And after 3 days, they open the box, and two other guys are in the box, and they're almost dying. And he steps out and he said, takes a drink of water and walks off. And I'm like, oh my God, he was peaceful. I wonder if I could do that. And so I think that I carried that through. And then when I lived in Japan for 9 years. I was bartending there and and that's where I started my business career. But I was jogging through Osaka Park. And a friend said to me, Ted, I was worried about something. He said, Ted, that's all in your mind. And Michael, the next moment, everything broke open, and I had a little bit of this awareness, like, wow, it is all in my mind. And my journey really began there. I found books on meditation, on Buddhism, on anything. I would just look at it. I went to the Zen temples down in Hiroshima to talk to the monks. I mean, what is this thing, this enlightenment thing? And that took me to Calcutta, where I met Mother Teresa. And that's been my journey then, is like the eternal quest of what is this thing? Like, we're born and then we die. And in between, we get to do this thing called life. It's really miraculous. And the more that I realized, the more that I could become present, the more I could really enjoy these sacred, special moments that we have alive. And I want to bring that to people.
Right, that's lovely. The bottom line is all about perception, right? We have this perception of the world around us, and the reality is that we can change that perception. And I think a lot of people are not aware of the fact that you don't have to be miserable and unhappy or stay in a situation that doesn't bring you joy. You can make choices. You can actually do things that bring you to that place of happiness. And it's important to read other people's literature on what they've written about their journey, because I think we learn from each other. We are a species of learning people, learning beings. So I think being able to hear someone's story and learn from that person's journey helps to position us in a way that allows us to find that happiness or that joy that we seek in our life. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I think you're totally on with that. I've read a lot of books. We all have, and I find I can read them over and over again. And the message really of become present and be aware of where you are can never be heard enough. And the purpose of my book, Get to Be Happy, is it's a memoir. It's the stories of my life and how I came to this state of really enjoyment. And I think people that are reading my book in particular, and there's plenty out there, but my book in particular, people come out and say, wow, through that guy's stories, crazy stories, partying with Bon Jovi in Tokyo and doing all kinds of things, the death of my business partner, my daughter, all these things, they come out saying, okay, well, he's pretty much just like me, having experiences in life, and yet he's happy. Okay, maybe I can do that too. And I do want to say, though, Michael, that if you're grieving right now or you're really struggling, I am not saying, oh, get over it, all Pollyanna, be happy. No. If you are struggling and having a challenging time, my heart is with you. And whatever you can do to move yourself, look, you have and everybody's support, I think, but I just never say, hey, oh, get over it. That is not. If you're feeling what you're feeling, feel it, really feel that. And then when you're ready, then make the step. Wait a second, could I be happy? And then from there, just find that thread and go from there.
Right. I'm going to ask you two questions. What was
Okay.
the lowest point in your life, and what was the happiest or the highest point?
Oh, that's a great question. Listen, I have to say, standing in the hospital with my wife, she was in full labor, and and then the baby just, the heart stopped beating, and the baby, when the doctor said, "We're sorry, you've lost your child," that was the low point of my life. It was really challenging, and at the same time, I'm going to say that in that moment, holding my wife's hand and knowing that we were going to get through it, and that we had this love and the people around us, I don't know, that was an amazing. moment as well. So I'm going to put those in the same bucket. This was raw life happening, and it was painful, it was awful. And yet there was so much love that came from that over the next ensuing weeks. And there you go, just that high and low and
Right,
life.
right. And that caused a revelation in my mind. I see things evolving, right? Thoughts and feelings and emotions
Yeah.
that you probably never expected to have.
Yeah.
And we all look for revelations in our life. We all look for that voice or that message that tells us this is something we should be doing or this is something we should be feeling. So I'm sorry for your loss, and I
Oh, thank you.
celebrate your journey of
Thank you.
enlightenment, and I encourage you to
Yes.
continue doing it and inspiring other people too as well.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank
Ted
you.
Larkins, thank you for being on the show today.
My pleasure. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'm Michael Robinson. We've come to the end of another show. Thank you all very much.